Good evening. Good evening. My name is Rodney Glover, and I'm a candidate for governor of Florida. And I wanted to tell you that I'm frustrated. When I have to explain, and I did today, I explained to some individuals, hey, the political landscape, the way this is, looks a lot like this. I asked you to hire me for the job. You take my resume, you listen to what I have to say, and you hire me. You, the boss, now comes back and says, hey, how are things going? I tell you, things are going well. You say, okay, provide me all the information so I can make sure that I look over everything and everything's going to be good to go. And that's where I say no. The boss says, what do you mean no? No, I don't have to. What do you mean you don't have to? The rules say that now that I'm hired, I don't need to tell you anything. I'll decide what you need to know. The boss says, what? That doesn't make sense. Yes, it does, because those are the rules. So boss says, you know what? I'll fire you. You can't. Because once you hire me, only the people who are hired can fire me. So the boss can't fire you? No, you can't. You can't fire me. Only the people who are hired can. What? Yes, those are the rules. So how do I know what's going on? I told you it was good. You need to be okay with that. That would happen in no other job except for politics. Politics is the only place where we hire people. They come out, they ask you for the job, and then they turn around and tell you they don't have to tell you anything about the job that you just hired them for. That's what politics looks like. And it's frustrating. Because when I just want to put you in a position to rewrite the rules, that's it. Hey, I don't want to hire you if I cannot ask you a question. And if I do ask you a question, if you don't have to answer it, do you work for me? The answer is no. Plain and simple. We don't have to go back and forth. We don't have to argue that. The answer is you don't work for me. And that's where our political landscape has been for decades. And I would ask anyone to argue that. Because what you're saying is, what everybody is saying is, when you elect an elected representative to speak on your behalf, but they do not have to answer to you, what means that they have to consistently speak on your behalf? Nothing. There are no rules and no regulations in place. And the sole focus of my entire campaign is to put rules and regulations in place that would mean that the persons we hire answer to us, the population being the boss. But the current way the system is, the current way it's set up, and it's working the way it's supposed to, they do not answer to the people who hire them. And it just bothered me because when I told you in my previous video that Mayor Dimmons had to come out and say, I had to sign that bill, it meant that he didn't have the support to not do it. I don't really care what the problem is that, hey, you're an elected official. This means that the seat, you can always be, someone else can just take that seat. So you could have stood on integrity and said no. But instead, if you didn't want to do it, you could have just said no. But instead, you said, I needed to do this so that I could stay here and whatever you put on the back end of that. Why are we having a political system where an individual can individually vote, but they put their integrity on the line? Everything about his interview, his candor, his demeanor, the terminology, the words he used, says that he didn't believe that he wanted to do that, but he needed to do it because his position was in jeopardy. Your position is in jeopardy if the citizens don't re-vote you in it, or that's it, or so we think. How is it possible that citizens vote you in and vote you out, but they still feel pressure to be removed from other areas. If you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, if you can prove it, if you can do what's necessary, then you should not be concerned being threatened about whether or not someone is going to put X amount of dollars to make sure that you never get in this office again. Because the people you represent will see that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. But we just saw, like, you have to just see what you saw with your own eyes. Apparently, that's not what's real. And that's why I'm running for governor of Florida, because the people who put you in office, that should have been the majority. So the majority decide whether or not we're going to vote for you or not vote for you based on the work you do or have done. That's it. That's super important because we are seeing consistently not the weight of the people be what moves our elected representatives, but a weight that we cannot see move our elected representatives. It wasn't termed, the people are going to vote me out if I do this. That was not the term. It was, a higher power is going to have me and other commissioners removed. And I'm not pointing, I'm simply pointing out that our seats cannot feel that type of pressure if it's not coming from us, the citizens, saying, hey, we don't like the job that you do. We don't like the position that you took. It's super important to understand that. And it does have me frustrated because I am pleading and telling citizens, hey, we need to constitutionally concrete authority over our elected officials. That way, when you vote someone in, they do not have to be concerned about other outside entities coming in and changing their integrity unless they didn't have it from the beginning. Because if you're here for the people, then the people should be the only thing that you're concerned about. And we're not recalling. We didn't ask to recall the mayor. The recall means to say, hey, we issued this piece of legislation that want to recall you to ask you, why did you make this decision, and decide if we should vote you out. But you haven't heard many recalls happening in a long time. And maybe I'll do a video on recalling. But we haven't heard of a lot of people that say, hey, we should recall this individual because they're not representing us the way we're supposed to. So it's very troubling to note that once the boss hires, that the worker doesn't have to answer to the boss. And the boss is you and me. It's the tax paying citizen that is here legally. That's who you are. And the boss doesn't answer to you. So that's why, again, I'm a candidate for governor of Florida that wants to change the rules so that all of the elected officials answer to the people who hired them. And I really appreciate your time and your energy in giving me the understanding and sharing in my frustration and understanding that even though we're frustrated and we point out issues, we also provide solutions. And the solution is to add in the rules that you answered to the people who hired you. That's the solution. And to actually say, this is how that's done. That's the goal. And the support necessary to see that happen is for you to go to the bio, pull down the link tree, download, print out the form, sign your name, and take it to your supervisor of elections office. I really appreciate your time. Thank you for hearing me out. You guys have a great evening.